April Innovate AT monthly community partner call. And this month we're focusing on creating culture. And I think it is super relevant right now with what's happening within the profession. And because there's new people on the call, I'm gonna give a quick little intro about myself and what Innovate AT is about. And I really want you guys to know this is not a PowerPoint presentation. I just came up with a couple different talking points that will help me guide what I'm going to talk about. And then if any of you have something you want to mention, just let me know. And then just the only kind of like housekeeping detail when we do these calls is have yourself on mute, just so we don't listen over each other. So this will be a 45-minute call. I really want you guys to understand this is a safe zone. What I mean by safe zone, the reason Innovate AT has been, I'll say, successful, and the reason people have enjoyed being part of it is people are able to speak their mind. They're able to think innovatively. They're able to think outside the box without judgment. And the reason that is important is I'm speaking for myself. I've always been an outside the box thinker, and within the profession of athletics, when I would talk this way and when I would think this way, if it was different or if it was unknown, it was hard for other people to understand it. I was the black sheep. Sometimes there's a lot of shaming in our profession. So that's not what we're doing here. So if anyone does have a question and if they want to talk about it, it's just asking everyone to respect their position. And if someone feels that they're out of line, just let me know and I can control it, but I'm usually good at kind of managing the conversation. So the real quick like background for all the new people that are part of this is, my name is Adam. I'm Adam Halpern. I went to grad school in the Bay Area, worked at Stanford, and then I worked at the US ski team. And I, like a lot of the people that are part of Innovate AT and that might be on this call, is I reached kind of that pinnacle of the profession of athletic training, and I realized I personally wanted more. And I wanted more than the profession of athletic training could give me. So the reason that's important and really ties into the culture is I want everyone to realize you are a person, you have your own culture, and you're not defined by the athletic training credential. So yes, you are an athletic trainer, but your name is what should really come first. So when I was with the ski team, I was like, you know what, this is cool, and there's a lot of perks, but I want more. And when I did that, I really learned other business models and service models because I got jobs in other industries while I kept one foot in athletic training, because I'm the treasurer of our district and I'm involved, and I have a lot of friends that are still athletic trainers, so I know what's going on all the time. And I'm bringing those other resources and other ways of thinking to the profession of athletic training, but more importantly, giving the individual athletic trainer the tools and resources to do whatever you want to do with it. So I don't want you guys to think that Adam has all the answers or Adam is the answer. We're creating a network of professionals that have an athletic training credential to do amazing things for each other. So when we focus on the community, that really is what it is. We're building a community to give back to each other. So these monthly calls are a way to do that. I'm going to show you some information that we have about Innovate AT and about our product Wave On. But if anyone else has something they want to share, either today or in the future, by all means, let us know. Because the only way we're going to get through this unique situation with the coronavirus, but then also the unique situation of how do we advance our professional skill sets, is we have to do it as a group. So just keep that in mind as we go forward. So once again, I want to keep it to 45 minutes because everyone has life that they're doing. We don't want to have these things draw out. Has to be a safe zone. We're really focused outside the box. We're not thinking about what happened 25 years ago. We're thinking about, hey, what's important now and moving forward. And if you have a question, I want you to post it in the chat. I just need to make sure I can see it because right now I don't have the chat function because I'm sharing my screen. I'll figure that out as I talk. So moving forward, I'm showing you our culture internally. And it's not because I'm highlighting it. It's not because I'm patting myself on the back. I just want to show you that we have created a culture internally that is for, like, me from an owner, the other people that are partners and are helping building it, to vendors, and all the way to you guys that are just part of this entire ecosystem. Culture can evolve. I don't want to say change, but I know when we did this, it was a different state in the world's history. Now with the coronavirus, we have to go back and really identify what our culture is going to be moving forward. That's just important, that understand as you evolve in your career, as you're looking at what you can do with this current situation, everything is not forever. And how does culture really create that foundational piece of your just overall success? We also have an integrity agreement. So when athletic trainers come on and they're within Wave On, these are just some internal principles that are really focused on how are we maintaining really a path on our North Star. And once again, this all goes into culture, because the people on this call are probably working for school districts, they're working for clinics, they're working for hospitals, they're within the profession. And have some of those North Stars been altered? Or are the employers sticking to their guns and it's the same message? So these are ours. Once again, I mean, we're going to record this and send it out. So if you want to use it for your own benefit in the future, you can. But I think these are really important because we are on such shaky grounds right now. And there's going to be a paradigm shift. There's going to be a paradigm shift within our culture, that this is the right time to do it. We all are at home and we have extra time to put it together. And once again, I'm just kind of laying the foundation of what we're going to talk about. I feel, once again, I'm speaking from Adam's perspective, and these are just a couple highlights that I put on a slide before we got started. If we don't know what type of culture we personally want to be in, how are we ever going to know what type of job we want? What type of profession do we want to be in? So I think everyone on the call can really do some deep thinking today to say, what is my personal culture? Like, what do I really want to gain out of this unique situation? You know, everyone sees social media posts because it's part of our daily lives. But people are now commenting on, hey, this is actually nice. There isn't the hustle and bustle. There isn't this running around trying to meet 10 practices a day and all these business meetings and having to worry about paying our bills. I get to spend more time with my family. I get to spend more time with my kids and my spouse and actually get to know them again. So use this time appropriately to help you when this moves forward, and when you move forward. How can you really understand how your North Star ties into these that are listed? And there's other ones. I mean, someone could put religion, faith, whatever is important to you. But I know everyone is always talking about employer. I feel the profession of athletic training and the culture of athletic training is part of the situation we're in. And when I say that, it goes into this question. And this, I'm going to leave this slide up because this is really where we're going to talk about. And I'm going to have to probably stop. I want to share my screen, but I want to see if the chat function. We talk about this internally, and you know, there's press releases and there's news conferences right now that coronavirus is going to come back. So when I talk about the culture of the profession of athletic training, the culture of athletic training is this. And some of you are going to disagree, and some of you might think I'm spot on. The culture of athletic training has always been, we're in the shadows. We don't want to be in the spotlight. We want people to like us. We don't want to displease anyone, and we want to be liked. And we're just going to get our job done. And unfortunately, that means that we have just become an expense on a budget. And because we haven't spoken up and we haven't really identified who we are and what our true culture is, we were the first on the chopping block. And it doesn't matter that sports isn't in session. It means that when there isn't work to be done that we're able to provide a service for, we're dispensable. And that's the culture of athletic training. That's what it's always been. Hey, work 80 hours a week at a high school, at a college, just do it. It's just what we do. And when athletic trainers that tried to think outside the box and start their own business because it wasn't part of the culture of athletic training, they were shunned and they were the outcast. And I know there's people on this call who have thought that way. I'm speaking from personal experience. So I think it's our time, it's our chance and our opportunity to say, how can we look at ourselves as the individual that has the athletic training skill set to create my new culture? And we have some resources, we have a whole business model around it. But this is where I really want to hear from the group, because once again, it's not the Adam Show. If anyone has thoughts, concerns, an example of what they're doing to prevent this from happening to themselves again, I definitely want you guys to speak up, because these are not PowerPoint presentations, they're group discussions. So I really am asking someone to take that leap and kind of speak up and put yourself out there, because once again, it's a safe zone. So if anyone has a thought, I would love to hear from them. I'm going to call on someone if someone doesn't say anything. Here we go. Now, okay, there's the chat. There's the chat. Andy, you ask your question. I just read it, but you ask it. Ask it out loud, Andy.
Just 1 second here.
Okay.
You just read it. It's several different themes on that one question. Hold on, I got to find chat again. So I think for me, the hardest thing that I struggle with a lot is the personal, professional, and fiscal responsibilities at work, at home, and how do we make that?
When you say make that, are you asking like how to balance it out?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of how I want to phrase it. But it's that there's a personal responsibility we have, there's a professional responsibility, and there's a fiscal responsibility. And sometimes they don't all align. And a lot of times for me, I get really anxious and upset when this decision is made that affects me on a personal level, but I feel like I'm being run over by it personally. And that could be a...
Go ahead. Sorry, Andy.
No, go ahead.
I was going to ask, when you say you feel like you're run over, what type of situation is that in? Is that in the personal life, or is that when you have an employer who is making a decision for you or that impacts you?
Yeah, it's kind of both. I think I'm a pretty transparent person. I expect I'm pretty open to everything. So sometimes the decisions made, whether they're good or bad, I take them personally. And it could be at work, or it could be home, larger too, or home. But that's kind of my comment.
Does anyone have feedback? Has anyone on the phone been a manager and kind of been in between the employee and the feelings that Andy is representing, and then the employer, that they have to make decisions based on what's best for the company culture? Does anyone have any feedback on that? Tony, do you have any thoughts? Just because I know you've been in management.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's always the not fun part. We are people pleasers, and when it comes down to the corporate world, the dollars and cents are really what matter, right? So the bottom line is, if you're working for a big corporation and you're in that world, it has to do with the dollars and cents at the end of the day. And we get that, right? We understand that. It's a business. We don't want to lose money. But, I think a lot of times athletic trainers work their ass off, put in a ton of hours, even though they're paid a salary, work a boatload of hours, and because they didn't have enough referrals or the school didn't do as well or whatever it might be, it always comes down to, what's the worth? Why do we have this athletic training program? And it's like, God, do you know what my athletic trainers have been doing? Like, they're standing out in the rain, they're standing out in the snow, they're standing out, clearing a field with lightning. I mean, it's just all of these things. They're doing CPR in the middle of a basketball court, right? And then it boils down to, well, we don't think it's worth, we don't think it's worth the value. They're not bringing in the money. And it's like, it's not all about the money all the time. And I think that's the part that I always struggled with, being in that position for 12 years. It just, I felt like I am an athletic trainer. So for me, it was always hard because I was put in the middle to, hey, Tony, we need to see bigger numbers. We need to, get more money out of the contract. We need to, and I tried to keep that away from my employees. And, eventually in the end, I was let go because I was trying to protect my employees, and they didn't see the value of what we did as an athletic training and just said, we can just get rid of it. We can just get rid of athletic training and we'll just worry about PT and OT. And it's like, wow, that's what made me disheartened about the whole part of my job over those last 12 years. And it just got worse. And, it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate that we don't, get the respect that we deserve being out there. I always say, they pay the ticket, the people taking tickets, they pay the janitor, they pay the bus driver, but they never want to pay the athletic trainer. And so I just, that's a tough one to swallow. So, that's kind of why part of the reason I'm involved in this whole thing is I think there are more opportunities for athletic trainers to create an environment where they can thrive as individuals, but also as professional healthcare providers. So, again, that's my 2 cents.
No, that was poignant. That was good, Tony. Does anyone else have any other thoughts or a continuation of what Tony mentioned?
Hey, Adam, I'll chime in here. So as an athletic director and sports medicine supervisor, I saw on that end, I would battle with the school boards on the working for corporate. Same thing. They want to look at the numbers, and you and I have had multiple conversations around it. We have to control what we can control. And a lot of times when and it's with any job, you go and you work for an employer and you're reporting something, they have their limitations. Their cash flow is limited. Taxpayers' money is limited. Like, they're making those decisions. And as you stated earlier, we become discretionary to the school, to the hospital, whoever we're working for. And it's not a bad thing, because those jobs are important. Those jobs are important for the communities and schools. However, if we're putting all of our eggs in that one basket for ourselves, professionally, personally, for our families and everything that we are relying on, we're kind of exposing ourselves to risk. I'm on the financial end now. And it's the same thing. If you were to put all your money into the 401k in the stock market, well, right now that market's crashed. Nothing that we could do to control it. And I think it comes the same way with our profession. We have to be open-minded and create other revenue streams, or at least other options for us to pursue, and that we're not relying on one other person or one association to do it all for us.
So you bring up a good point. So you're talking about diversification.
Yep.
And I mean, you mentioned revenue from a business model, but that can also mean income for an athletic trainer. Does anyone on the phone have other income streams that decreases the pressure of what's going on with the economy? I'm not saying it's going away, because everyone is feeling it, but does anyone on the call have other opportunities that they're working on, in addition to being an athletic trainer, traditional sense of the word, that they would want to share, just to help people know that there are, other opportunities out there?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've been working on. Just to give you guys a background, I also own, besides a clinic, I also own a gym. And one of the things that we've been operating, or what we've been trying to do, is everyone's going digital. And I was actually on a call with one of my clients who's a chiropractor. And right now there's a need for people to do things virtually. So she's actually just been going around her neighborhood and giving out information to people in her neighborhood about what she does. And, you know, depending on what credentials you have and what your state legislation is and all of those things, there is an opportunity for doing quote unquote like personal training virtually, or even doing some sort of stuff like that.
Perfect. Does anyone, I'm going to say it, does anyone sell anything? Is anyone part of a program? You know, I'll call them MLMs just because that's the actual technical term. Is anyone part of that and it's still driving personal income to their family? Does anyone have a story like that? Or no? And here's why I ask, and this is part of what we're building out. All of us know that when you are an athletic trainer within an organized sports setting, from a high school to a college to a pro team, it doesn't mean that we are the expert and we're the perfect person for everything, but it does mean that we're the hub of information. So athletes come to the athletic trainer and we know a little bit about everything. And that ranges from sports science, it ranges to nutrition and exercise and injuries and referrals. We literally are the go-to person. But we have been giving away all of that information for free, and everyone else has been compensated financially by our lead. There has to be a paradigm shift from the athletic trainer to say, I'm not going to give away my advice for free. And if I'm referring people to a product or a service, that product or service should be paying me because I'm giving them a qualified lead. Like athletic training has to put their business hat on at some point because it is not the NATA's responsibility to make us more money. Like that's not what they're designed to do. That's not what they're built to do. The individual athletic trainer has to say, what can I do? Now, does that mean you try to sell every one of your high school athletes a lotion or potion? Obviously not. That's not what I'm saying. But people look at the athletic trainer as the Google, right? The search engine for musculoskeletal and performance related questions. They know that we have an answer to either give it to them directly or direct them to the final answer. So I'm looking and there's Brianna is part of Ambit, doTERRA, Andy is Advocare, Airbon, like they exist. You just have to go back to the culture. What is it about that company that ties in with your culture? We don't have to become sleazy car salesmen. That's not what I'm saying. But if there's something that matches your culture, personal culture, and there's a culture within another company that allows you to make money to support your family, if you don't do it, that's where we have to look at ourselves and say, yep, I'm not doing everything I can to support my family. And that's the big push that I'm stressing is athletic trainers are always pointing the finger at everyone else. And what we're trying to do with Innovate AT is, it isn't easy. This is not easy. I'm facing the exact same challenges Adam is, but what can we do individually to prevent this from happening again? Let's, there's another big question. I just have to read it. So Andy says, funny you say the athletic trainers that were musculoskeletal experts, so do PTs and DOs and chiropractors. I'm not trying to get on a soapbox, but I need to explain the difference between athletic training and all these other disciplines. And I know everyone knows the difference, but I'm going to tell you what we have that no one else profession has. And it goes into what I just mentioned. When we talk about the relationship that we have with athletes, we help navigate athletes through their injury and then their health, and then the healthcare system at large. That's what athletic training is in a nutshell. We manage their care. right? And our biggest asset is what I call our double-sided Rolodex. We know thousands of athletes, and we know hundreds of providers, and we know hundreds of parents. We're the hub of this entire system. PTs, their service model is a 15 to 60 minute session. DOs are patient files and getting in front of people and talking to them. Chiropractors are between 3 minutes and 15-minute sessions. As an athletic trainer, if you focus on your core asset, which is knowing a lot of people, you can be a musculoskeletal expert in your community. People can communicate with you, talk to you about, hey, my shoulder's bugging me. What should I do? You treat it, you evaluate it, you manage it, or, hey, you know what? You need to go see a physical therapist. But if we talk about culture, and this is where people shake their head at me sometimes, athletic training has little brother syndrome. We are not comfortable in our own skin. And that's because this entire profession started when there was an uncool kid that wanted to be part of the cool club, right? We were managers when this entire profession started. And that is an undercurrent part of the entire culture of athletic training. That we want to do IVs, we want to do all the rehab because everyone else is doing it. We need to rock our blue pastel tuxedo and wear it to prom and don't worry about what Big Brother is doing. Until that changes, nothing is going to change in our profession. The only way that's going to change is when you as an individual, you want to do something that's important to you and your community. But everyone is always questioning our profession because we are questioning our profession. No one knows what we do because we don't know what we do. We're trying to do what everyone else is doing. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do dry needling. I'm not saying we shouldn't do Therex. But we can be the hub of the entire sports medicine community in cities and towns, and people will pay us for that access because it doesn't exist in healthcare. And you don't have to be victim of a hospital letting people go, a high school getting shut down and not having a job. We really have the opportunity to accelerate what we're built on from our educational foundation and then putting other skills on top of it to you being an independent business owner or an independent provider to your family. And maybe you still work at the clinic, maybe you still work at the high school and have, to Matt's point, you diversify your income. So if something falls off, hey, that's not a big deal. I mean, think about all the people that have money. How many different companies are in their portfolio, right? I mean, Matt knows best. They don't have one source of income. They have multiple. So I'm going to look at what, I'm going to let Stephanie just mention something just because I'm letting, kind of people talk. I'm reading your comment and you work in the industrial setting. Just give us some thoughts, Stephanie, based on what you wrote.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of going off what Rich had said, we don't currently, at least the university I jumped out, we don't, I mean, traditional settings, what's often kind of pushed, yeah, we talk about other settings, but there's not this open, I feel like, minded mentality of just look at the possibilities of what could exist within our profession. I'm currently working on my DAT right now, and this is actually something that we're currently kind of talking about right now is just kind of what opportunities actually exist out there for athletic trainers, what things are currently in place for us to have these opportunities, or what things are not in place for us to have these opportunities, and where do things kind of need to change along the line. I know most people know industrial is a opportunity, but I don't think a lot of people quite understand the intricacies of it, and kind of venturing off and just really kind of figuring out what it is that you really want to do with your skill set, and just kind of being creative, because in times like this now, we can't rely on those athletics to hold us around. So what is it that we can utilize? Because there's so many avenues I feel like we can go as a profession and things that we do, because we have this unique perspective of someone once said we're the healthcare providers from start to finish. So from seeing an injury to, you know, evaluating them, to taking them through the rehab process, and even, again, even if they're not with us, helping them navigate through that whole healthcare market in and of itself for a lot of people who don't know. And in the industrial setting, that's something, when I work with a population from like 18 to 75, I mean, you have people that don't really understand the whole process of healthcare and this and that. So being able to even just educate them and walk them through that process is beneficial from that end as well.
So I'm going to ask a question to everyone, and it goes into exactly what you're saying. If you work at a high school, you work at a college, even if you work at a clinic, you have a patient pool, right? You have a student athlete population that you're supposed to help. How many of you have ever had someone call you, text you, email you, talk to you in person about exactly what Stephanie just said? I have an injury, I don't know how to manage it, and or do you have a referral to someone? Has that ever happened to anyone on this call? Right? I only see a couple faces, but I guarantee everyone is kind of shaking their head. So because of that, that means that external person values you as literally a healthcare navigator. They value you. The second question is, have you ever asked them to pay you for that service, or did you give it away for free? Right? We all give it away for free. Thousands of interactions every single day. People give this away for free. The only way we're going to make more money is when we start to tell people, hey, you want my help? I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant, but I'm in business, and this is how it's going to operate. Even if you guys charge $5 for every interaction, someone said, help me with my shoulder, do you have a referral to the specialist? Think about how many interactions you have had. So then, to Stephanie's point, and Andy mentioned this earlier, if we talk about the public healthcare system, is that access available for an amateur or recreational athlete right now in the public healthcare system? No. Their existence, or their opportunity to get answers, is urgent care, emergency room, seeing a PCP, unnecessary x-rays, going to see a specialist. It takes a lot of time and a lot of money, and athletic trainers that have that skill set that help athletes navigate an injury or navigate the healthcare system, we are literally sitting on $1 trillion opportunity. It's right there. It's right there for the taking. And the reason I know the customers are going to do this, yes, we've done customer discoveries. Like, our business model is already going there. But the real reason I already know people will pay for this, how many of you, when you give away that free service, will get a dinner purchased if someone's in the same restaurant and you're there? Or do these families buy you gift cards like, hey, thank you so much for helping us, you know, with that fracture. You really got us in to see the specialist right away. The mindset of athletic training and the culture of athletic training is, we're in the shadows, we just do it all because we don't complain, and our patients come first. And every other discipline is like, we're not going to do free work, right? You can't go see an orthopedic surgeon and not have to pay. You can't see a lawyer. You can't see an accountant. It's 100% up to the individual athletic trainer to say, I know my professional skills, I went to school, and if you want access to it, pay for it. That's the culture. That's the culture of our profession. It's really, I mean, it's very, very straightforward. So then Dylan said there is a huge opportunity with telemedicine right now. Telemedicine, HIPAA, guys, those are terms related to healthcare. Healthcare. Every single interaction that I just talked about where athletic, in insurance within healthcare is what I mean to say. So every interaction where you guys are supporting all of these people and doing it for free, we have been doing this forever. We've already been doing it. We've already been giving this virtual advice. Now that people are in lockdown, there's nothing different other than you can't have them come visit you. You guys have already been doing this. It's time to just start charging, which is part of that culture shift. I'm continuing to read the questions. As I heard someone say before, we need to be looked at as a connection to the patient, not to our connection to the sport. That's valid. That's a good point by Stephanie. The only thing I would say about that is in New Mexico, our Practice Act states we have to work with athletes, but then an athlete is defined as someone that's in physical endurance and stamina. So that literally can be someone who is 60 pounds overweight. They're on an company wellness program and they started walking for the first time in their life. And because they have unstable hips, they have lateral knee pain. We can help them. That is defined as an athlete. So athletic trainers are so stuck in this mindset because it's part of the culture of organized sports. It takes individuals to say, yeah, that's nice. Like that's what traditional athletic training is. But what if I can do more as an individual who's a professional that has that skill set? And then like Andy said, I'm just reading it. We need to disregard definitions and practice acts, especially population definitions. We are in the perfect position to really be the quarterback for patients' health and to give them the proper care that they need. It's not about third-party reimbursement. It's not about how can I get paid for by an insurance company for my skills. Everyone knows how much the fitness industry makes because they ask that person, hey, do you want to do one-on-one sessions with me? Athletic trainers have that same thing. It's just a mind shift. It's a change in culture, which is really what we're talking about today. I'm just kind of going through the things. Ted has a good, response. It has to do with practice acts. Some states have better acts than others, which is 100% true. Yep. And with our model, we're not trying to go rogue. We're not trying to not work with doctors. We have doctors that are already providing standing orders for us to do what we're doing. It's really just understanding the relationship between the athletic trainer, the athlete, and that provider and having the appropriate conversation with them. I'm just reading questions. Does anyone want to say anything? Like I said, I don't want it to just be me talking, reading your questions. Does anyone want to talk about one of the comments they're making? I'm going to go through. I'm going to pull on someone that I know is going to talk. Let's
Adam,
get Misha. Yeah, oh, go ahead. Someone's going to say something. Go ahead.
oh, sorry. I was just going to point out, I love what you're saying. I kind of want to echo the truth behind it. Having been a traditional kind of athletic trainer in the collegiate setting for a number of years, I've recently moved into the fitness industry, and I work for basically a small, we all know what Exos is, the sports performance company. Basically, I work for a smaller version of Exos, and it was super uncomfortable to, like, there's a sales portion to my job, and there's super uncomfortable at first to be asking people to pay me to take them through 60-minute workouts. But the athletic training background, I think, actually is what helped me launch. Essentially, we're W-2s, we're not 1099 employees, but we all run kind of our own small business within the larger sports performance company. And it's up to us to go out and find our own clients. And when I started showing my value in that, I know doctors and physical therapists in the area, but I also know, like, nationally, nutritionists that I've linked people with and have gotten clients to get personalized nutrition programs from people that live across the country. And the only reason I knew them was because of my athletic training connections. People started paying those professionals as well. And what you're saying about people are willing to pay for it, I just want to echo, like, how true that is. And I'll be completely honest, I don't know if I would have believed you as much 6 months ago or a year ago, because it is this uncomfortable thing and there is this culture of living in the shadows. But at the same time, I'm sitting here now, like, I've seen it, I've lived it, and there's nothing truer. There's this huge gap. I've kind of built my niche of saying, I'm the guy within the sports performance company that's gonna take a patient who's done physical therapy, but I live in Denver, Colorado. A lot of our people want to get back to high level skiing or mountaineering or things like that. And, like, so many adults that I work with are like, you were an athletic trainer, you were on the sidelines of football fields. I didn't know you even knew how to help me, a 45-year-old who tore his ACL skiing, and just seeing how much. And now I get, like, even more clients because of that, and seeing how much people are willing to pay for someone who is going to help them navigate it, explain things to them in ways that their PT didn't, or a strength coach at a Lifetime Fitness can't. The value, I think, of athletic training is being increased day by day, and people are willing to pay for it. It's just super interesting.
So a couple points. First off, awesome opportunity for you. Thanks for speaking up, because those are the success stories that other athletic trainers need to be aware of. And I just got off a phone call with Florida International, kind of talking about the same stuff with their students, because they have an entrepreneurial DAT program. And a lot of athletic trainers expect their education programs to provide the information and the knowledge and the skill set around the business model, which ranges from understanding a P&L statement all the way to sales, like Steve mentioned. It's not our ATEP program's responsibilities to teach us everything. They don't have enough time. There's not enough hours in the day. The ATEP programs are teaching us how to be an athletic trainer. So if anyone on the call is still in school, or if they have the opportunity to go back to school, that's why schools have education departments, health science departments, and then business departments. Like if someone is an athletic training school, well, go and take classes from the business school. It's not the athletic training department's responsibility to also give you an MBA. You have to go and diversify. And then the second part is lifelong learning never ends. So if an athletic trainer wants to learn how to do it, there's community colleges, there's online training that we can learn some of these skills. And really what we want to do is, to Steve's point, instead of jumping in and learning how to swim around sales and business development, we want to include that content with what we're doing. So then the athletic trainers feel more comfortable to go out and have those conversations, ranging from the personal training industry to the private athletic training industry. So it's not easy to do, like Steve said, because it is such a mental shift. But at the end of the day, if you want to do it, you can do it. And I use this kind of example all the time. Most athletic trainers were athletes at one point. Like that's why we're in athletic training. So if a coach asked you to do something, we probably figured it out as well as we could athletically. It's kind of the same thing within business. If you want to be a better salesman, if you want to get more clients, if you want to improve your reputation in town, you just got to figure out how to do it. And it can include coaching. It can include mentoring. It can read book reading, going and getting other courses. But it is on you. It's not on anyone else. That's just the biggest point I want to drive home. So Steve, I appreciate it. iPhone, I don't know who iPhone is. I've built relationships with my gym and have a stretching program that I provide and get paid for. Members also contact me if they are hurt. I evaluate them and either refer or put them in my stretching program. You can't get more athletic training than that, right? Every gym has people that get injured. I will give you, this will be the last tip because we're almost out of time. If you look at business models and you look at gyms, from like a Planet Fitness all the way up to a high level performance gym that costs $150 a month, you always have to look at pain points. And that's how business is successful, when you have a solution to a pain point. The pain point for gyms in the fitness industry is retention. It's 100% about retention. That if they have members that get injured in the gym and they enter the healthcare system for a small injury and they're told to be non-weight bearing for 4 to 6 weeks, and they're put in the boot for a small strain of the calf because the healthcare system doesn't know how to manage that, they go to their gym and they say, I want to suspend or cancel my gym membership. We have a resource that is an asset to the entire fitness industry because we're able to keep them as a gym member. We just have to remember that. Now I'm just kind of reading some of the responses, but I can't keep up as I talk. Steve's going to say something. He just got back on video. Go ahead, Steve.
Sorry. No, I'm going to say that's literally, you're better at articulating things than I am. That's how I built the clientele that I have, is basically being called in by other coaches and being like, hey, can you do a quick 5-minute evaluation? And basically getting clients to not leave our gym. And not, essentially, it sounds bad, I don't know if I say this out loud, but basically convincing clients not to go to the hospital or to urgent care, and like giving them this is where, like, you know, this was pro bono, you know, giving them stretches and things that they could do. But in a sense, it helped the company. Like, I didn't get paid for that, but it helped the company retain that client, which then, you know, indirectly paid my salary. And it took 2 minutes out of my time. But like convincing someone, hey, you have a strain, we don't need to take 2 months, you know, 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever it is off. But we can do this to keep you active.
Yep. No, it's perfect. Yeah. And you aren't keeping people negatively out of the healthcare system. You're giving people the type of information they need so you clean up the healthcare system. Because the reason the healthcare system is so upside down is all those small injuries are clogging it up. So then the specialists aren't able to focus on specialty cases. So when your coworkers are sending you the appropriate minor injuries, you're doing what athletic trainers do in organized sports, which is literally you're acting like triage, and you're helping them with what you can legally based on a practice act, and then you're referring to the next level when appropriate based on the practice act and the standing orders. So kudos to you. You've capitalized on it. It's been 45 minutes. Just last slide I want to go to. Just if anyone, we're building this community. I'm going to be honest, guys, this is awesome. This is our biggest call we've ever had. It's pretty fantastic. So if anyone hasn't officially joined, right, we're doing it. There's no cost for a couple months really to support each other. You can email us. My email is just adam@InnovateAT if you want to email me directly. And then there's the website. This was great. I'm recording it, like I said. We'll share it. So if anyone has any personal questions or comments they want to talk about in the future or contact me directly, just go ahead and do it. But with that said, have a good rest of the April, and we'll talk soon. Thanks, guys.